Hello, my name is Michael Quintal. I teach French privately, immersion style courses here in Fort Lauderdale for French and English. I'm here with a student of mine, Adam Walker. Hi, Adam.
Hey Mike, how are you?
Fine. Um, Adam, you shared with me that you studied French for a while in high school. After a couple decades of not studying the language, what made you want to start studying French again?
Well, Mike, it didn't have to be so hard in decades, but I guess you're right. It has been about 20 years, and for me, I just really love the language. I've always loved the language, and I've had a passion for it, as well as having taken a few trips to Paris. I want to travel more internationally, and it just seemed like a fun thing to do once again.
I see, great. Um, Having been with me for nearly 6 months, what would you say makes my course unique and effective?
The fact that you give truly immersion style um, instruction to the extent that it's possible. Um, with the phone calls, you call me every day, you leave phone messages for me every day. We speak on the phone every day, and we see each other 3 times a week, and sometimes more. Um, Short of living in a francophone country, this is probably the closest that one could get to the immersion style learning. So for that reason, I really enjoy your style of teaching.
Oh, great. I recently created a comprehensive PowerPoint presentation on French verbs consisting of 70 slides with audio. Could you tell the listeners a little bit about it and also how it is useful to you?
Okay. Well, the PowerPoint presentation worked out very nicely for me. As the listeners may find out, there are a ton of verbs in any language. There's a lot of verbs, and with the French language, the verbs change forms and the conjugations, and it's a lot. It's a lot to learn. I'll be completely honest and frank. It's a lot to learn, and that being the case, you have to find different methods for getting all of that information into your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And the books are fine, but sometimes learning via a book is just kind of rote, and it's not so intuitive. Um, so the PowerPoint presentation with the audio really allows you to just be absorbed in it. I can actually take the audio from the PowerPoint and put it on an MP3 and listen to it as I'm going about my daily activities. This way it becomes intuitive and it doesn't feel forced.
Great. I have students do progress videos every 3 months. Before you do the next one, you review the previous one with me and I have you correct your own mistakes. Speak a little on how that process helps you and on the improvements you have noticed just over 3 months.
Well, the process works simply. You do the video, and before you do your next one, you look at your previous work and you see if you can find your own errors, as it were. And it really shows that it shows how much you learn without even being aware of it. And in the case of my progress video, I can see um, a huge improvement from where I was 3 months ago
Mm-hmm.
as to where I am now. So at first I was skeptical of the progress videos. I thought, well, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
But after having done one and getting ready to do a second one, I can see the benefit of doing it.
Great. Um, I have a huge library of audiobooks. How have they helped you with your language skills?
I really like the audiobooks. For me, the ones that we've been using for the children's stories,
Mm-hmm.
the Little Red Riding Hood, the Three Little Pigs, and Alice in Wonderland.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, the grammar um, there's a lot of grammar there, and it's grammar that you would otherwise miss if someone didn't point it out to you. So the fact that we read the stories, and by the way, they're the short versions of the stories, not the long versions, but they're the short versions of the story. And Michael actually takes the time to print out the words, and systematically and strategically, Michael makes blanks, and it becomes a fill in the blank project for you. And he does the fill in the blanks strategically in places that are important to you, whether it be the termination of a verb or whether it be finding the proper verb tense. For this reason, those stories are very effective because they teach you proper grammar and proper sentence structure without you being aware of it. And these are things that you just don't learn. If you had to do it, as I remember it in school when we were learning sentence structure, it was very boring. It was mundane. But when you do it in the form of a story, and these stories are cute little stories, it makes learning fun and intuitive.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. I do make the sheets with blanks as strategic areas, so that way, without even realizing it, you can learn a lot of the basic aspects of the language. And it's amazing because just over a short period of time of using these audiobooks and doing these exercises in the way that I'm presenting with the blanks, it does give you the opportunity to really think about what goes in a particular place. And what happens, I find, is that if you may miss it once or twice or three times, after a while you no longer miss it. And that way you just are finding that you're learning without realizing it. So that's great. There are, of course, many ways I go about helping students assimilate the language through articles, songs, correspondence, exercises, interviews, thematic vocabulary lists. In what way have you found these useful?
Well, I think each one has its own place. Each one is useful in its own right. As you know, every student learns differently. And the fact that you have all of these tools to help us learn, then the onus becomes on us to find which vehicle, per se, which vehicle is going to allow us to learn in the fashion that's easiest for us. And for me, I like the stories. For me, I also like learning by music, and that's something that I didn't think I would learn until we took a go at it, and I found that I enjoyed listening to popular French songs.
Yeah, and I also like your choice of music.
Thanks. But I do think that everyone learns differently, and you just have to find what it is that gives you that spark and gives you that motivation to keep going.
Absolutely. Now, how has the board been useful to you? There are times, for example, when I use the board all the time. If there's something that I need to explain, I find that it's very helpful because you can just basically sit either by the computer or sit in the recliner and look out at what I'm writing, and you can be comfortable and learn in that particular way. There are times also when I've had you go to the board and do some work, like on verbs, for example. Have you found using the board helpful either when I go ahead and explain things or when you go up and you do things yourself?
I do think that the whiteboard is an effective tool. A lot of times, in grammar, even in English, when let's say, for example, you're spelling a word, how many times do you have to actually write the word out because you question your own understanding, your own knowledge of how that word's spelled. So sometimes muscle memory plays an important part in learning, whether it be learning a language or learning to fly an airplane. It's muscle memory. For that reason, I like the board. I like to be able to go up and write, as again, even if it's just conjugating a verb, you get in a flow. When you're writing it, you're saying it in your head, you can get in a flow when you're writing it out. Or as you point out, there are times when I may not understand a set expression, but the moment you write it out on the board and I can see it and visualize it, then it becomes crystal clear. And a lot of times just seeing the phrase kind of causes it to become emblazoned in your memory. And again, when you're going about your daily activities and you're speaking French, or in my case, attempting to speak French.
Oh, you're doing very well.
These phrases, if I'm looking for a phrase, there's been many a times when it's come back to mind, and when it comes back to my memory banks, it's the phrase that I see written on the whiteboard.
Right.
So, as I said, there are many tools to use that you avail to us when teaching us, and the whiteboard is just another tool in our belt, as it were.
Great. Now, how would you describe the atmosphere of your sessions with me in general? I try to make sure that you have some water, and make sure that you're comfortable in the recliner, for example, and things like that. But when you're here, I like to take special time with you, make sure that you're comfortable and at ease. And I wanted the people who are listening to understand that when they're coming here, it's not like just one regular, traditional class. That they're coming here and it's almost like being at home, and you can learn and stuff. It really makes the individual at ease. That's my intention. And I wanted to know if you could speak a little about that when you come in, as opposed to, for example, if you were to go into a class in general where it would be more formal and so forth.
Well, when I first started, I have to be quite honest that I was a bit nervous because I didn't know what to expect. My only experience with learning had been in a formal classroom setting. And over time, probably by the second or third session, I was completely relaxed, and I felt comfortable. And once I saw your passion for what you do, then it made it easier for me to become relaxed and to become more engaged, because you take this very seriously. You take instructing more serious than I thought. When you think of someone, and this is primarily for you, the viewers, when you think of someone that says that they're a French tutor or a French teacher, you think of someone that that knows the language and that's just going to come in and help you learn a few phrases and that's it. Well, that's not the case with Michael. Michael, I believe he's got a PhD in French, but he lives it. And when you come into this his home here, for me it feels as if I stepped out of Fort Lauderdale and gone into the French studios, because it's complete immersion, and this is what he does for a living. He doesn't. This is not a moonlight thing for him, where he's a French teacher in high school and he moonlights giving instruction. No, this is what he does. This is how he makes his living. So you will not find a more passionate instructor and a friendlier one to boot.
Oh, thank you, Adam. I have to say that I've also enjoyed working with you. You really have shown a tremendous desire to learn, and you've made a good amount of progress from the time that we started. And so it's always nice from my end as well when I'm working with people that are genuinely passionate about learning. So I want to thank you for taking the time to do the interview today. And if you're interested in studying French privately and through through courses that are immersion style, I encourage you to get in contact with me. You can go to my channel. On the left side, just below profile, you will find my website with contact information, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.